G'day folks, it's Phil from 15minuteguitarpractice.com, and today we're talking about chords. Now, one of the things I struggled with as an intermediate guitarist was understanding that there were more chords than just the ones mentioned in my chord book, and I quite often got very confused about things. And so I'm going to share with you something that just helped clear it up for me, because I always thought, you know, if it didn't match my root 6 bar chord, if it was like an A, if it didn't match a chord I was familiar with like that, like a root 6 box shape or a root 5 box shape, then it couldn't be an A major. But actually what I found was that wasn't the case at all. Now, to use a maths analogy, if you take 1 and add it to 3 and then add 5 and 7, you get 16. Similarly, if you take 7 and add it to 3 and then add 5 and then 1, you also get 16. So chords are the answer, and it doesn't really matter what order you put your notes in for that chord, it still will make that same chord. And that was really weird for me, because I'd read that to make a regular major chord, you only needed 3 notes, 3 tones, and that was the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th. And so I thought, well, okay, that makes sense. So you need 3 pieces of this puzzle, put it together, and you make a chord. But what I couldn't reconcile it with was my knowledge of a bar chord. How can that be the chord that matches what I've just talked about? Because this has 6 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And apparently the major chord only needs 3 notes. So what was up with that? I was kind of lost from then on. So maybe it was just me, but if I got confused, I'm betting that some of you may have got confused or are still confused about these things. So I'm going to try and clear that up. So let's just run through that again. To make a major chord, let's do it in A, because I kind of like A, you'll notice. To make a major chord in A, you need the 1st, 3rd, and the 5th. So you take your major scale and you find the 1st note, or the root note, you go 1, 2, 3, that's the 3rd, and you go 4, 5. Okay, so you've got the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th. Now if you play those together in order, you get something that sounds like this. Now that would be how you play it on a piano, for example, because you play 1st, 3rd, and 5th, and like that. But obviously somebody saw that years ago and went, shit, that's way too hard to play on the guitar, let's move some notes around. So they kept the 1st note where it was, they moved the 3rd note from there on the 5th string, they just went and made an octave of it. So octave, 2 frets down, 2 strings down and 2 frets up. So they put the 3rd there instead of there, and the 5th that was over here, they moved to there. So now your 3 tones, as they fit inside your bar chord that you'll be familiar with, go here at the 6th string, the 5th note is on the 5th string, and the 3rd, funnily enough, is on the 3rd string. So all you need for a major chord is those 3 tones. So maybe you're wondering, well, what are the other notes I'm playing? What are the other 3 notes in my major bar chord? Well, they're actually double ups and octaves of those 3 tones. So we know that we've got the root note on the 6th string, and we've got the 5th on the 5th string, and when we get to the 4th string, this note is actually just the octave of the root. Okay, so it's a repeat of the note that's on the 6th string. On the 4th string, when we get to the 3rd string, that's the 3rd. When we get to the 2nd string, that is a repeat of the 5th from the 5th string. And then up on the 1st string, obviously the 1st string is the same as the 6th string, so that is also the root. So the spelling of a chord when you're playing a major bar chord on root 6 major bar chord, spell out like this: root, 5th, octave of the root, 3rd, octave of the 5th, and octave of the root again. Okay, so I hope that's cleared one bit up. Now, sometimes you see people playing chords and they don't, you know they're playing a major chord, but it doesn't look like this. Quite often they might be playing a fragment of this chord, and they're playing the important pieces of that chord, and the important pieces we just talked about are the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th. So you might see people playing it like that. Just starting at the 4th string, playing the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string. Now that's just our spelling of our chord, just like it was there, but an octave higher. And just like in our maths analogy, the order of the notes isn't important. So you could play it like here, with the 1st, 3rd, and 5th in that order, or you could play it here with the 3rd, 5th, and 1st, which is the top 3 strings. Or you could play it here, which is the 5th, I think it's the root here, and then the 3rd on top. And that looks like a D major shape from down here. And there's another one up here. So you've got to choose from all of these. And up there as well, right at the octave. They're all still an A major shape, and depending on what type of music, what style of music you're playing, I mean reggae uses lots of these little reggae and funk, use those kind of things rather than the whole rebunchous bar chord, which you might be doing if you're playing like blues stuff or punky stuff or rock and roll stuff. It tends to be the full chord. Okay, so things to remember: you only need the 1st, 3rd, and the 5th to make your major chord. It doesn't matter what order those notes are in, it's still a major chord, and that's probably the extent of what I want to cover today. So I hope that's cleared some things up. For me, it was just an understanding that things I could find with my fingers on my fretboard that didn't match things in my chord book were still valid as a chord in some way, shape or form. Sometimes they were very weird things. You've probably got an app or a chord finder or something digital these days which will tell you all the names of all the things, but really if you could just understand that chords you're familiar with in box shapes and in songbooks go beyond just the shapes that are printed in there into other things, then I think it will help you put together things much more quickly and for your musical landscape to be much clearer. Alright, so that's all for today. Oh, and just one last thing, if you're wondering why I'm kind of looking a little bit crazy, I've got the mo and the fro. We had a Hendrix Project gig the other night, and so this is my working persona, being the lead in a Jimi Hendrix tribute band. So I don't always look like this, but it's quite a killer look, don't you think? I think it works. Alright, see you later.